Hello again, guys. YouTube Vlogmas day 4. Wow. YouTube live Vlogmas day 4. The snorty noises you can hear in the background is Miss Maddie. She's just woken up. Hello, my sweet. And come say hello to people. Don't you come and say hello? Don't you come up and say hello, Bubba? Hello, here she is. Hello, my sweet. Mwah. Hey, Trisha, Ina, Mika, Thalia, Risha, Pelican, Prairie Knitter. Hi, I haven't seen you for a while. How you all doing, guys? Belly rubs for Maddie. Oh, I don't think she'll have a problem with that. Belly rubs for Maddie. Belly rubs for Maddie. Okay, let's get going. Day 4. I'm still trying to get Vlogmas to be short. It's difficult, but we'll give it a go. Hi, Susan. Today, as you can probably tell from the title, I thought I would talk to you a little bit about the bullet journal method, which is Ryder Carroll's book that's come out, made, well, last time I looked it was number 7 on the New York Times bestseller list in the first week, which was incredible. Well done, Ryder. Obviously, lots of people have already done reviews on this, I'm sure, because I haven't been around YouTube very much. I haven't had a chance to watch videos. I'm pretty much all about the Christmas classes at the moment. As soon as I'm finished, I will be able to get going with reading other people's stuff and catching up with some videos. But right now, I have no idea who's done videos on it and who hasn't. But I have been asked a few times what my opinion on it is, because most of you already know I'm an unpretty bullet journaler. I don't do pretty planning. Nothing against pretty planning, so don't come after me. If you want a pretty plan, that's fine. But for me, my planning is functional, purely functional. And if I want to do pretty stuff and I want to invest time in things, it's going to go in my proper journal, as I call it, my proper journal. Some of my thoughts on that have changed a little bit, surprisingly, via this book. Even though Ryder does talk about the very elaborate books and says, you know, absolutely fine if that's what you want to do, if it's enhancing what you do, that's great. But that's not what bullet journaling is about. The bullet journal is the system, and the presentation. He actually said, in fact, I bookmarked a quote by him. I bookmarked a quote because it summed it up. I think it's this one. Design, yes. Okay, here it is. He says, people assume they can't bullet journal because they're not artists or because the handwriting is too sloppy. Allow me to lay those concerns to rest. The only thing that matters in Bujo is the content, not the presentation. If you can elevate both, my hat is off to you. But the only artistic skill required is the ability to draw straightish lines. And earlier in the book he says, as long as you can draw a straight line, you're okay, and if you can't, get a ruler. I love Ryder's very down-to-earth approach to things. Anyway, hey Marilyn. Knit. I always read bullet books. Hello. I always read audiobooks. I cannot sit and read a book. Just can't do it. But I can sit and listen to audiobooks while I do something else. And I bought the audiobook, and I was very happy to see that A, it came out internationally at the same time as the book. B, it came out in the UK at the same time as the book did. And C, it is read by Ryder Carroll himself. Now, Ryder has a very nice voice, and if you like kind of soothing voices that are not boring, but they're just nice to listen to. Highly recommend this book, even if you're not into bullet journaling, because his voice is just lovely to listen to. That aside, I like bullet... I'm going to keep doing that. I'm going to keep saying bullet books instead of audiobooks. I like audiobooks, especially where they're read by the author, because for me, it's like having the author sit and explain it to you. Nobody is ever going to be able to explain bullet journaling with all the nuances and backgrounds and connections that can be made better than Ryder Carroll, because Ryder Carroll invented it. So for me, having him talk me through what was going on with bullet journal seemed to me to be the best idea. As you can see, I've also bought the book. Now, the reason I've done that is because if you want to just listen to the Bujo book, not really necessarily implement it, you're just interested in seeing what kind of ideas you can get from it, the audiobook will do you fine. However, for me, I want to work through a few things, and having the audiobook with Ryder Carroll telling me about stuff and the physical book in front of me where I can highlight and mark and put sticky flags in the bits that I think are important, that really works for me. It's like being in a lecture hall, and for me that just works. It works, okay? If you're more of a I prefer a textbook kind of person, you probably don't need the audiobook, but it is totally worth getting, I assure you. If you do not have Audible already, go to Audible and sign up for the free trial and get that audiobook for free. Tell them I sent you. The book itself, the first couple of chapters is a bit convoluted. What you could call the introduction, because it's trying to explain something that you don't yet understand because you haven't read the rest of the book. So if you're completely new to bullet journaling, the beginning couple of chapters might sound a bit fluffy. I say just get through them, take what you can from them, ignore the rest, and maybe if you feel that you missed something, come back and listen to those when you've done the rest of the book, because actually there is some very useful information in those first couple of chapters, but until you know where you're at with bullet journaling, it kind of doesn't really add to the experience, in my opinion. It's a bit superfluous to requirements. However, the one thing I absolutely love about the way this book is written is that there is no 4 chapters at the beginning telling you how wonderful the bullet journal method is, how it's the answer to all your dreams, it's going to fix all your problems in life, it's never going to need, you're never going to need any other planning system, and it's going to work for absolutely everybody. Ta-da! Which is what usually happens with these guru type books, you know. If you've ever read any of the GTD books, you'll know that the first 5 chapters, sorry I knocked the camera, the first 5 chapters are basically the author telling you how wonderful his system is. Ryder doesn't do that. He tells you how great his system is in terms of how it works for him and why he came up with it. That I like. So for those who are not familiar, Ryder Carroll has ADHD. He struggled with at school, not because he wasn't able to do things, but because he wasn't able to organise his thoughts, because school, you know, we know what it's like. Even those of us who don't have ADHD get distracted. And if anything, I think to sum up this book, it is to say that it's about getting rid of the distractions that stop you from being able to plan. And I'm going to put in there that along with that goes pretty planning. If pretty planning is a distraction, then get rid of it. If it's not functional, if it's not adding to anything. And he's a web designer or app designer or something, and he actually says at one point, he quotes, who is it? Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, some French dude. A designer knows that he's achieved perfection not when there's nothing left to add, but when there is nothing left to take away. And that sums up this book completely. When I first started bullet journaling, which is, I don't think I was one of the first bullet journalers by any means. However, I came to it via Kent from Oz. I think about 6 months after the video came out, because, yeah, I'm going to say about 6 months, because it's been around for like 4 or 5 years, and I know I've been bullet journaling for at least that long, definitely. The reason it appealed to me is because it's based on lists, and my entire planning and organising life, as you'll know if you've ever watched any of my videos, is built on the to-do list. I make a list, I work through the list, I do stuff on the list, I check off my little boxes and I go, yes, I've finished my list, and I feel really good. And that helps me because I do not have ADHD, but I do have squirrel brain, and I am easily distracted. I forget things very quickly. I've reached that age now where not only do I walk into another room and forget what I walked in there for, but I go on Google and forget what I went to search for. Some of us will know that feeling, and it's just got to the stage now where if I don't write it down, it doesn't get done. I've always been a little bit like that, but now it's like, I'm nearly 50, and I'm like, yeah, if it's not written down, it ain't happening. No. So the bullet journal method really appealed to me for that reason. And what this book does, I think, is gets rid of all the mythology that builds up naturally around a system when, hey Sylvana, when you have a system, this is how it works. The author of the system says, this is the system and this is how it works, and several million people repeat that, and you end up with at least a couple of 100,000 variations if not more, because people will naturally change things, people will naturally interpret things differently, people will sometimes willfully misinterpret things. I don't know how they manage it, but they do. And sometimes people will just go, no, that's not going to work for me, so they'll start straight away going, oh, well, I'm going to do this. In my case, I made several assumptions as I was working through bullet journal, not on how it worked, okay? I know how bullet journal works. I've always been one of those people right from the beginning who's like, whenever people say, oh, but I can't do bullet journaling because I'm not artistic and I can't do lettering, and I'm like, that's not what bullet journal's about. Get yourself a notebook and a pen, and that's all you need. I've always been one of the proponents of the unpretty version, and said, go and watch Ryder's original versions of the video and then go and watch his updated version, because that is all you need to understand it. And what I found is that actually that's wrong. I was wrong. Hands up, I was wrong. That is not all you need. What you also need is Ryder sitting there saying, this is what we do, this is how it works, and this is why. And that was what I was missing. I was missing the why. And the why is what is addressed in this book. Nearly 50. I know 50's not old these days. It's the new 40, but you don't look 50. No, well, it's all the fat. It pads out the wrinkles, you see. But yeah, I'm going to be 47 in January. I get my... Whoops. Sorry. I get it from my mum. My mum is 71, and you would not believe she was a day over 50. She's got great skin, and I inherited it. Great skin and good genes, and like I say, the fat pads out the wrinkles, so I don't look as old as I am. What can I say? Anyway, The book is split into two sections. One deals with the what and the other deals with the why. This is Ryder's own words. Basically, he goes through, after the very short introduction, which talks about what the method is and why he came up with it. It's kind of a, well, you know, the first chapter or two is basically the book in a nutshell. The first thing he does is explain to you what the bullet journal is and how it works. So he's got a couple of chapters here that he's got an introduction, just a very, you know, here's where I started kind of chapter. This is where it came about. This is what happened after I introduced the bullet method to other people. Here's what the book is going to be about. Here's what the actual thing of bullet journaling is in a nutshell, and then we get on to, and here's how to do it. Now the how to do it reads like a TV manual. He says that himself. He tries to avoid it, but it's a technical book. However, it's very well written technical manual. He is as succinct as he possibly can be. He's got very simple, basic, uncluttered little diagrams all over the place, all the way through the book. I mean, there's a couple of pages like this where it's examples of other people's books and what they've done with it. But for the most part, you know, this is not, this is all community stuff, other people's things. But the actual diagrams, you know, all the bits all the way through are examples he's given you from his bullet journal of how things work, and it's all the very similar layout. You won't have any trouble with that. What I do appreciate is that on all of these explanation pages, you've got, okay, this is notes, this is how you take notes, this is how it works. And then afterwards you've got some tips. Here's events, this is how events work, this is how you log them. But in between each one, he's got one of these written pages. And I really appreciate this in terms of visual, because it's so easy to tell that this is meant to represent an actual page out of a bullet journal. And the yellow highlights relate to what he's talking about. So these bits are these highlighted here. So this is an example. So this is an example of an event, and this is an example of an event where he's added notes to it as well. Okay? So it's really simple to see, and he gives you extra information. He gives tips and stuff. He also includes tips that other people have given him. And he also shows versions of different types of stuff. Now, this is where the light bulb went on, this page. Page 60. He talks about rapid logging, which is what it's the daily log. The bit where you write your lists down, okay? You have a new page every day, you write the date, you write your lists. In a nutshell, it seems simple. And for all the ability to shorthand stuff, no, the highlighting is in the book. All the highlighting is in the book. It is him. I have deliberately done this video before I've done any highlighting in the book at all. All of this is him showing you the bits that he talks about in here. Risha, you'll love this book. As a dyslexic, trust me, this is fantastic. He tells you what the thing is. He tells you how to do it. He gives you examples, and then he shows you examples with the bits that he's talked about highlighted. It's oh yeah, it's nice. It's nice. You've just explained the bullet journal in a nutshell to me. I always wondered what it was about. I know bullet points for an essay, but I don't make the correlation. Oh no, literally it's like bullet point slides. Yeah. However, the thing I did, and I think a lot of people who, even the non-pretty planners, okay, even the people who took the original bullet journal videos didn't make the connection between what he was trying to do and what he was explaining. you tend to assume that bullet journaling is to-do lists Mark 3. Okay, you've done to-do lists, you've improved your to-do lists, you've, version 2, you came in and you made your to-do lists really slick and quick, and you don't waste time writing things down, and you know what your symbols mean, and boom, 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 boom. And then bullet journaling comes in and you're like, ooh, an upgrade. And that's how I viewed it. Absolutely, that is how I viewed it. Ooh, clever stuff I didn't think of that I can adapt. And I was ending up with this kind of thing. This is a to-do list. This is a little bit more complex than a to-do list I would have ever written, because that's way more writing than I would ever bother to do. I'm a one-word, he actually talks about this in his book, Get Rid of Superfluous Information. So instead of call Keith back to figure out where we should eat this weekend, Keith, call about Saturday dinner. Okay, because it's important to know the who, the when, and the why. The details are in your head. The details will happen in the conversation. The details will happen naturally, because if you're on the phone to Keith and you're talking about having dinner on Saturday, what's the first thing you're going to find out? What time are you meeting and where are you meeting him? So you don't need to write that down, because that's implied in what you're doing here. Okay, so getting rid of superfluous information, getting rid of distractions, that is number one in this book. Get rid of anything that you do not need. Now, one of the examples he says, and I'm paraphrasing because I don't remember exactly what he said, and I don't want to flip through the book to find it, but he says, will keeping a list of all the books I want to read in my journal enhance my journal or be of use to me? Answer, no. Therefore, it's a distraction. He then goes on to give an example that if you're, say, a student who has a list of textbooks to read, and your list of textbooks is on your book and you're crossing it off as you go, yes, that is useful. Why? Because you have to read those textbooks and you know where you're up to. And you can also add in things like if you need to borrow a textbook, or if you've got a textbook, or if you're swapping a textbook with a friend, and so on. If you're a movie major and you keep a list of films that you watch, so that you can make sure that you're watching a good variety of films in the right genres by the right directors, etc., etc. That is using information for a good purpose. So if you're a member of a book club, of course you're going to keep a list of books you've read. But if you're just like me and you have about 75 books in your Audible queue that you just haven't got round to reading yet, writing a massive list of those in your journal is not going to enhance anything, because the list's already in Audible. You don't need it in your journal. You know that you're probably not going to read all those books anytime soon. So the better option is to say, okay, I'm going to read 2 of those books this month, and I'm going to write in my rapid log this month, or, it would actually, I suppose, go in the calendar page, which is your log of the month, not your daily log. Where's the calendar pages? Hang on. Hold that thought. Events and notes and signifiers and collections and calendars. Here we go. So here's your calendar page. And as part of your calendar page, you keep a list of tasks for February, this month, whatever. And these tasks are tasks that you know you have to do this month, at the beginning of the month, when you start the month, and stuff that is brought forward from the previous month. That's how things don't fall through the cracks. Every month, beginning of December, I wrote my calendar list like this. I started writing my tasks. What do I need to do? I've got to pay my rent. I've got to do this. I've got to do that. It's Christmas. I've got to do this, that, the other. And then I went through November and pulled forward anything I hadn't finished that still needed to be done. And the way he describes it is bringing forward things that you just bring forward things until either they're finished or they become irrelevant. You know, some things you just leave them so long it becomes irrelevant. You know, last week's cleaning, guess what? Last week's cleaning didn't get done. It's now become this week's cleaning. But instead of having a massive list of all those books in your journal, which will just become an albatross around your neck, where you've got 200 books and you're going, oh, I've only read 3. Instead, you pick 2 books and you say, I'm going to read those 2 this month. You put them on your task list. Now, I think this is where a lot of people slipped up, and it's the bit that I missed, because the whole point of task lists is not to just create, or the whole point of bullet journaling is not to just create a task list. It's to create a journal list. And it's so easy to fall into this thing where you just create a list of things to do every day. I think we've all done it. I know I've done it. I've tried not to do it, but I couldn't see a way forward to do it any differently. What Ryder talks about in this book is how the rapid log, not the daily log, it is a daily log, but he calls it a rapid log because you write stuff down as it happens. In terms of Planner Addict community, it's a brain dump, and you do it constantly. So your daily log is, oh, I need to set up a collection for all the stuff I need to do over Christmas. You don't immediately run off and start writing down a collection of everything you need to do and making it pretty and da-da-da-da-da. You write it on your rapid log, set aside time to create Christmas collections. You don't immediately run off and call Keith about dinner on Saturday, because now might not be a convenient time. I think a lot of people fell into the what's his name? Steve, can't remember his name. Carrie Harling talks about him all the time. He's got this thing where if it's going to take longer to write the thing down than it is to do it, go and do it. Covey, thank you, that's the name, Steve Covey. Now that works for a lot of people, unless you're like me. If you're a procrastinator, if you're not very organised, if you're easily distracted, if you're the kind of person that will go, oh, I won't bother writing that down, I'll just go and call him now. And by the time you've walked into the kitchen to go and get your phone, you've either A, forgotten what you went in there for, B, forgotten that you actually wanted to call somebody, C, picked up a book and gone, oh, that looks interesting, oh, squirrel, you know. You never get around to calling them. It never happens. You've got to be very, very disciplined to say, I'm not going to write that down, I'm just going to go and do it. And to be honest, for me, that would never happen unless this was the case. La la la, I'm writing, oh, I must call Keith, oh, I'll do that now. Bing, bing, boom. Hi, Keith. What are we doing on Saturday? That's the only way it would ever happen. If my phone was any further away from me than outside of my peripheral vision, forget it. By the time I find my phone, I will be distracted. That is a core point of this book, and Ryder says it over and over and over and over again in so many different ways. Stop making your brain make decisions. The fewer decisions you have to make, the easier you'll find it to make decisions. He uses an example of Barack Obama, who used to say he always wore grey and blue suits, and he only ever had ties and shirts and things that matched with either of those suits, because that way he didn't have to think about what he was going to wear. He could concentrate on more important things. It did not matter which suit he picked out, which shirt he picked out, or which tie he picked out. Everything was going to match. It's one of the reasons I wear black so much. Yes, I'm a goth and I would wear black anyway. But I would wear black even if I wasn't a goth, honestly, because it minimises the number of decisions I have to make. I don't have... Honestly, most of my clothes consist of the same single pair of jeans 10 times, the same leggings 10 times that I only ever buy from one shop because they fit, and I buy them in bulk. So why do I need to buy jeans or leggings from somewhere else, decide if they fit, decide if they wash well, blah blah blah? I know these work, just keep buying them. Most of the time I wear the same pair of leggings and vest top, not physically the same, but the same design, and a different top over the top, so a jumper of some sort. My jumpers, my overtops, are the one thing that I will buy something different. So I've got maybe 15 of these in different styles. I never change the style of my t-shirt. It's either got sleeves or it hasn't. If it's got sleeves, it means it's cold. If it hasn't got sleeves, it means it's a normal day. If I've got leggings on, it means I'm not going out anywhere important. If I've got jeans on, it means I'm going out. It's that simple. If I'm wearing boots, I'm either wearing my high-heeled boots because they're comfortable, or I'm wearing my it's okay to get these muddy boots because I'm taking the dogs out. There is no in between. I don't have 40,000 pairs of different trousers or jeans that I could wear, or do I want to wear this, do I wear that? I don't care. It's all black, it all matches. It doesn't matter as long as it works. Function over form. And that runs right the way through this. Right the way through it. The other thing I didn't pick up on the first time, and I think a lot of people would have missed from the video because it wasn't obvious. It's obvious in hindsight when he points it out, is that the rapid log is not just a to-do list. And he says this right at the beginning. Bullet journaling is not just to-do lists. The point of bullets is to give you an idea of the things in your rapid log and what they are. Again, when somebody says it, you go, well, duh, of course it is. But did you realise that before? I know I didn't. So, yeah, this is a note, this is an event, this is a task, blah, 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 it's all a list. But do you really understand and follow what that means? I know I didn't. I assumed I did, but I didn't. Basically, the reason this is a journal is because it is an ongoing list of things that happen throughout the day. It's not a planning system. And that page that I showed you before, where he showed you the difference between a to-do list and the bullet journal system, how it's a journal, not a list. He sold me on that straight away. That's the point where I went out and bought the book as well as the audio, because I knew I was going to need it, because that, I was like, well, it's so obvious. Of course it is. He said that right from the beginning, but it never clicked, never fell into place. Now I'm going to show you tomorrow, because you know what I'm like. I've already talked for half an hour. It's only a book review. I'm going to show you tomorrow what I do with my bullet journal now. But one of the issues I've had with journals and planning over the years is trying to integrate it all together. When I was a student, it was easy. I had a to-do list and I had other pages. And my to-do list was 1. Go and get that book from the library. 2. Return the book to library while you're at it. 3. Finish that paper. 4. Finish that paper. 5. Start that paper. You know, it was that simple. That was my life. I didn't have anything else to organise. Basically, everything else happened at the student union when I actually saw people. All my student life was just a list of things I had to meet deadlines on. When I became a teacher, guess what? It works the same as a teacher point of view. You still have a list of things that you have to do. Everything else gets put on paperwork. So it becomes a list of fill out form for this, hand in form for this, finish form for this, finish doing this, set up this, write a form for this. You know, again, it's just a list of deadlines. Since one of the things I've always said is I would love to be able to have everything in one place. And this is how I've done it. This is how it's happened. Through looking at bullet journal and realising that it's not a to-do list. It's not a planning system. It's a journal. All the lights went on. The angels came down. Oh, there was a big chorus, you know, la 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 la, and so on. Because it's not called the bullet planning method. It's called the bullet journal method. I don't think I'm alone in thinking, oh, I might have missed that somewhere along the line. No, I don't think so. Anyway, I think the people who did spot that it was a journal method, the serenade of realization, absolutely. Oh, I'm making a note of that one. I have to remember that one. The serenade of realization. Ha! Oh, yes. I think the people who did realise it was a journal first and foremost are perhaps the ones who made it off into the pretty planning section, into the prettiness section. And then kind of the rest of the people who were looked at the bullet journaling kind of looked at the two and went, oh no, I can't do that. I suspect that may have been what happened, that the very early adopters who realised it was a journal and were already journaling kind of integrated their own journals with this, as I'm doing now, and it became pretty planning. Or the rest of us looked at it and went, oh, that's pretty planning, because we thought it was a planner. It's not a planner, it's a journal. It's a logbook, first and foremost. It's not a list of things to do. And once you get past that and you understand why it is that, it's like having a moment of clarity, I tell you. Make life easier on your brain. Yeah. That's Steve. It is Steve Covey, isn't it? Your brain is for doing, not for storing. He's the proponent of the brain dump, I believe. I'm sure it's Steve Covey. Carrie Harling talks about him all the time. Your brain is for doing things, not for storing information. So if you have to store information, like call Keith back on Saturday, that goes in your book, not in your brain. It shouldn't be hanging around in your brain. Your brain is for deciding where you want to go on Saturday and what food you fancy eating. Don't like complicated clothes. Wear colours and a neutral. That way everything matches. Yeah, yeah. You're a good teacher. Oh, thank you. Well, I'm a trained teacher, so that kind of helps. I couldn't write a book full of them, but I can throw in a scattering, yeah. Chuck it in. A little bit here and there. I think I saw it as a planner because I don't really log my journaling. I have to write out details. Yes. Now this is where I fell down, Cody, because I'm the same. If I want to journal, I'm going to either do art, sketching, or writing. And that to me is not the same as logging. However, if I want to journal about something and I want to capture the information, you know, there's a lot of people. I think oh, what's her name? Sian, is it? Courtney's friend. I can't remember her name. I think it's Sian. She writes chronologically in her journal, and she writes things on post-its and puts it on the page so that she keeps the page available, and then she'll skip the page and go to the next thing if she doesn't have time to do that. Rapid logging is a similar thing. So you might want to make a journal entry for this, okay? Instead, in your rapid log, instead of running off to write your journal entry or trying to remember in your head that you want to write a journal entry later, you create an event. Margaret volunteered to help with the assets. Note, showing more incentive and engagement. Note, increased participation effort. Now that section there, when you review your page later, is what reminds you about the details that you wanted to journal about. So you can take this information, you can put it in Margaret's HR thing, you can put it, you know, if you were talking about your child, you could put it in their journal for, you know, how they're functioning or developing, or if they've got, you know, learning difficulties, how they're dealing with stuff, how they're learning to cope with stuff, progress they've made, and so on. This is just the rapid log, the quick bit that you write down. Now, if you do that, it doesn't mean you don't need to write it down later. You don't need to journal about it. Oh, I'll forget the details, blah, blah, blah. Yes, you will forget the details, but the whole point of this is so that you don't forget the important things that when you thought, I want to journal about this later, you knew, that's what I want to capture. So you put those down, and later you come back and you write your journal entry with knowing that those 5 things are the things that you knew you wanted to capture and that you haven't forgotten anything. And that, again, the serenade of realization, as Bev calls it, a slap round the head, Mr. Gideon, you haven't been paying attention. Yes, that's the next thing I'm going to mention, actually. The monthly log. That was the other thing that I did not, because I couldn't get my head around how everybody planned stuff using a calendar. You know, how do you put all your appointments and stuff on there? I mean, that's impossible. Oh, you have forward planning. Oh, right, okay. So you've got some bits and pieces, but you know, I have like 3 different classes that I teach in a day at different times. How am I going to put that? How am I going to put on here that I've got an Amazon delivery coming and I've got a class at 2 till 4. I've got another one 4 till 6, and then I've got astrology at 8 o'clock, and I have to go out for that. How am I going to fit that in there? That's not the point. And in fact, it's very easy to miss unless you're listening carefully. I only caught it on the 3rd time through the audiobook. He actually does say, this is a list of what has happened. He doesn't write anything in here until it's already finished. It's notable events. This is effectively your highlights of what your journal would be about if you're doing journaling longhand as well. Your appointments, and he slips this in. I missed it. He slips it in and he says your appointments go in your future log. You know, oh, on the 14th I've got a parent-teacher meeting. Okay, you put that in your future log. When you do your review, you migrate that information to your calendar. He slips that in, and if you miss it, the whole thing doesn't make sense. But as soon as you realise, oh, hang on a minute, he's got an appointment book for his appointments. This is his journal, not his planner. And you go, oh, right, okay. I've got it. I've got it. There it is. It makes so much more sense. So much more sense. So what I've got now, and you'll see this tomorrow, is not only do I use this to log events that have happened, and not only do I use my tasks and notes to log events or things that I want to do, or I want to remember, or I need to make a note of, or I want to journal about, or ideas that I think, oh, I should do a painting about this. All of that goes in the rapid log for ideas, and you make little notes in your sketchbook. You take your journaling notes and you go and write your journal entry. You take your note that you've got a dentist's appointment in 2 weeks' time at 3 o'clock, and you schedule it on your calendar. And that's what I missed, that this is the hub. This is the capture system. It's not the planning system. And I think a lot of people missed that. And if you did, guys, get the book, because Ryder explains it. Nobody's going to explain it better than Ryder because it's his system. But especially in the audiobook, it makes so much more sense once you hear him say, this is a way of making sure that things don't slip through the cracks, because it's not all in your head, jostling for information, jostling for pages. Anything you need to remember, anything you need to make a note of, anything you have this idea for, you just put it in your rapid log and you deal with it when you review. You migrate it to where it needs to be so that it gets actioned. It's pre-planning. It's not planning. Okay, for those of you that was obvious, I'm sorry. Could you have explained it to the rest of us? Because I think about 98% of us missed that. But yeah, this has made so much difference to the way I plan, the way I journal, everything, because you'll see when I show you my bullet journal how things have changed, in that I now have a separate planner, but my everyday carry is my one book that everything goes in. It's my journal, it's my note list, it's my to-do list, it's my thoughts and ideas, it's everything. I am finally back, and if you've been watching me for a while, you'll know I've said this so many times. I've always carried a notebook with me, and I always used to write everything in it, and I never missed anything because everything was in my notebook. And somehow, at some point, I ended up splitting things out, and I had a planner, and I had a wall calendar, and I had this, and I had that. I think because I'm a stationery whore, basically. We're all like it. We'll do it. You know, oh, I need one of those. No, you don't. I think at some point I split off from that and I never could get back to it. And I always was saying I really want to get back to just having everything in this one book that I carry about with me. This is all I want. And yet somehow I still got this and a sketchbook and Filofax and this and that and something else. And I'm finally back to one book. That doesn't mean I don't have other books that I use. That just means that the core, the one book, I don't have to sit there and go, do I need to take my planner with me? Do I need my wallet? Do I need this? Do I need that? Do I need to take that one? What if I take some pages out of this one and slip it into my book? Should I take that, or shall I just... I don't need to. I can do it all in here, all in the one place. And I can organise what it needs to be done when I review the system and when I migrate it to where it needs to be. It was a revelation for me that while I had completely understood what the bullet journal method was, how it worked, and so on, I did not connect the why and the fact that it is a journal, not a planning system. I mean, it says on the front, right? It couldn't be any more obvious. Bullet journal. Bullet journal. Journal. Bullet journal. You know? And yet everybody talks about it like it's a planning system. Anyway. Enough of me raving about Carroll's amazing book. It is amazing, and he's not paying me to say this either. As somebody who has ADHD, he has created a system that has helped him address something that we all suffer with. The fact that everything happens so fast and we've got so much information coming up at us all at the same time has effectively given all of us attention issues. I'm not going to call it attention deficit because that is a proper a proper thing. We all have attention issues. We cannot pay attention. We cannot focus. We cannot spend a few minutes being in the present, as everybody calls it, doing what we should be doing right now. It's always, oh, there's a text. Oh, there's a notification. Oh, somebody's at the door. Oh, this. Oh, that. Yeah. Everything is so immediate that we tend to try to address everything immediately, and our brains don't work like that. Now, as a child with ADHD, Ryder grew up learning that the hard way, and he created this system to fix what he felt was a problem with how his brain worked. I think, in all honesty, all he did was did something 20 years earlier than the rest of us realised we would need to. It's as simple as that. The digital age has given us all a version of ADHD, because it's just throwing constant distractions at us all the time. Bam, 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 bam. We can barely get an email written before we've got a text. We can barely finish a text before we've got a pop-up notification on our phone telling us about something else, you know. And it's just a constant stream of distractions. And if you feel like that, if you feel busy but not productive, if you feel overwhelmed but not like you're making any progress, if you feel like you're always doing and always completing to-do lists but not getting anywhere, this might be the answer. I would strongly suggest you give this a try, especially if you looked at it and went, oh, I'm not arty, I can't do pretty stuff, I can't be that organized, I can't do this. If you are a cheap notepad and a pencil person, then you can still do this. In fact, he actually said that his very first bullet journal started off in a cheap spiral notepad with a pencil. So do not feel that you can't bullet journal. As long as you can write a few words, and like he says, draw a straightish line, and if you can't get a ruler, you can bullet journal. You absolutely can. And how to do it is all in this book. And like I say, go on Audible, get the trial version, download the book for free. He still gets paid, you know. I'm using the monthly tasks as a place to write what may happen during the month. Yeah, I kind of do a hybrid. I log things that have definitely happened, but I also put in things that I know that are going to happen whether I do it or not. Christmas Day. I've marked in Christmas Day because Christmas Day is going to happen whether I'm there or not. My mum and dad's 50th wedding anniversary is going to happen. I don't feel any need to wait until the day to write it down. I've put it in. But other things, you know, that I might want to remember. Do I need to remember that yesterday is the last time I bleached my hair? That I need to remember because I don't want to over bleach it. Because it's curly, it'll do horrible things. I need to know that I can't bleach it for another 6 weeks. But I could put that in my calendar and say, okay, bleached hair. And then I can do the mental arithmetic to work out how long is 6 weeks. I can journal about it and talk about what I did and take a photo and, you know, all that kind of stuff, which, duh, of course I am. I'm a journaler. That's the kind of thing I do. That's my version. Or I could simply work out when is 6 weeks from now, go to my future log and put in a note saying, okay to bleach hair in, you know, middle of January, whenever it's going to be. 17th of January, okay to bleach hair now. What does that mean? That means when I get to the middle of January, or when I get to the beginning of January and I'm looking at my January future log, I can make decisions like, do my roots need doing this month? Okay, I'm going to do my hair. Shall I get an appointment with the hairdresser? Shall I do it myself? Shall I do that? I can be prepared because I've eliminated the need to work out anything. I've eliminated the need to make decisions. I don't have to sit there on the 7th of January going, oh, my roots look a little bit ropey. I think I should probably do my roots, but can I do them yet? Or should I do them yet? Or, well, the decision's been taken away from me. It's not the 17th, so no. If it involves bleaching it, no, I can't. There's that decision out the window. So then you become, well, okay, after the 17th, it's definitely going to need doing. I better book in with the hairdresser. You book your appointment, or you rapid log, make appointment with hairdresser. You make your appointment with the hairdresser, you put that in your future log, and then you forget about it because, job done. And it's enlightening. It really is enlightening. I've managed to do an hour again. Oh, never mind. You get a high-pitched sound that lasts for 3 seconds. That's not me. Hey, Joe. Oh, you're not just late, honey. I'm about to wrap up. But you've got an hour of stuff about bullet journaling to go back and watch in a minute. So, yeah, high-pitched sounds like that. It's not me. It's not me. Sorry. Might be YouTube doing weird things, or it might be the conversion software or something, but it's not me. I get that sometimes on YouTube videos. I wonder sometimes if it's the sound testing or something. I don't know. But it's not me. I get it on a lot of live stuff. Okay, I'm going to finish there for today. Big thumbs up for this. Huge thumbs up. Ryder's done an excellent job. Not just of talking about what the bullet journal method is and how it works, but really linking that back to why it's important and how it can help you to eliminate the unnecessary. And that is a key thing, eliminating the unnecessary. I fell into the trap too of, oh, I must have a list of all the audiobooks I have in Audible so that I know which ones I've read. Do I need to do that? No. When I finished an audiobook now, I put in my rapid log, started blah-de-blah-de-blah audiobook. And when I finish it, I put in my rapid log, finished blah-de-blah-de-blah audiobook. It was crap. It was really good. It was okay, but I preferred such and such. And then that's it. That's done. That's all I need. Boy, done good. Boy, done good. Tomorrow I'll show you my actual journal, incorporating my bullet journal. My system is actually working for me for the first time in so many years, and I feel so much better about it that, in fact, here's a spoiler for tomorrow. All of you who've known me for a while, here's a spoiler. I don't use my colour coding anymore because I don't need it. How impressive is that? Yep, I've got rid of colour coding. I don't need it. It's a distraction now. It's something I do when I'm procrastinating. I also figured out why I procrastinate, but more on that later. This book taught me why I procrastinate. If you want me to do a video on that, leave a comment below, because that'll have to be another video. But yeah, I don't procrastinate anymore. Ask me how. Thanks for joining me. 4 days down, 20 days to go. I'm actually doing this. I'm actually getting through doing the whole thing. Yeah, if you're all getting it, I think that was exactly at the 1 hour mark. Is it a 15-minute indicator or something, or a 30-minute indicator maybe? When is it happening? Because you all said that exactly on the 1 hour mark. Yes, I know why I procrastinate, and I know how to avoid it. And I learnt it from this book. Thank you, Ryder. 46 years, and in one half page, he explained to me why I procrastinate and how to avoid it. Tune in next time for more on that. I'm going to show you my bullet journal tomorrow. Let me know if you want to hear about how I procrastinate, why I procrastinate, and how I don't procrastinate anymore. And if you've got any other video ideas that you want to see over over the next few days that I could do live, by all means tell me, oh, I'd love to see this or I'd love to see that. I would love to hear any ideas that you've got. I've got plenty of ideas to keep me going till Christmas Eve, but I really want to get my YouTube channel back on track in the new year, so any ideas that are left over will be used in January. So yeah, join me again tomorrow. It will be in the afternoon because I'm on Twitch tomorrow morning at 11. No, 12 if you want to join me for a painting session. Thanks guys, see you again soon. Bye.